Might check 1, 2.
Okay, our delay is huge, but at least we're audio.
Well, that's better than nothing. Can we put a disclaimer? Sorry, technical difficulties. Oh, I'm gonna reference that for sure. I have notes written up. You know, we quit it. I need it. We were at the treasure event. My son
All right. We're just going audio. We don't have video for some reason. They're working on that. It is September 16th at 3 p.m. It's actually 3:09. This is the Uintah County Commission Chambers in Vernal, Utah. This is a public meeting required by Utah Code annotated 1953 as amended, section 17-16-14, salaries of county officers. It's being recorded in accordance with current laws of Utah, section 52203. This meeting was noticed in various formats on September 4th, 2025 in accordance with the aforementioned Utah Code. It is requested to sign in. If you haven't, please sign in at the back before you leave. There's a sign-in sheet at the back, and please make it legible. Also, please turn your phones on silent or turn off so we don't get disrupted too much. Okay, the elected officials over 18 months ago came to me with this request. We've been researching this since then, this request being an increase in their salaries. Each year, the departments submit budget requests to the commission, and most are asking for a pay raise to equal the inflation rate of the past year, so this type of request is not unusual. This meeting is to listen to you, our fellow citizens, about a pay increase and compensation for full-time elected officials of the county, as well as the heads of county departments and divisions or appointed employees. This increase in compensation is requested to be up to a maximum of 15%. All right, rules for this hearing. As you know, we didn't have a very good hearing last time. We want to have a hearing this time, not a shouting match, okay? So no speaking over anyone that is speaking, please. Any shouting, use of swear words, or threatening statements will result in the individual being removed from this public meeting. Public hearing will be terminated due to the inability of the commissioners to listen to more than one person at a time should order not be maintained. And yes, we do have police officers present to assist you in leaving the meeting if you cannot control yourself. All speakers will be required to approach the microphone, which is over here, when it is available to state your name. At the request of the person typing the minutes, please spell your name if it's a difficult name to spell, and then proceed with your comments. Please do not repeat anything that's been stated by a person today. We don't need repetition. Once is enough. And as stated, this is only to listen to you. No decisions have been made by the commissioners, nor will a decision be made today. Commissioner Lefevre is excused as he is out of town. Thank you for your courtesy in listening to each other. When we get done, I will give you the website you can hook onto if you want to get a copy of this or listen to it again. Okay? We have our HR person that's going to give you a little bit of a background, and then we'll have our Clerk-Auditor, Mike Wilkins, give you a quick little explanation.
Hi, I'm Tanya. I'm the HR Director for Uintah County. I have a brief statement to read, and then we'll get into some facts and give you the opportunity to ask your questions. The Human Resource Office participated in a 2023 compensation survey with TechNet. TechNet is a compensation benchmarking company. They provide salary comparisons from both government and private industries, which allows our office to establish market-driven salary ranges as outlined in our compensation policy. For elected officials, comparable salary data is gathered from TechNet also, and then also the Utah Association of Counties, otherwise known as UAC. Our office recently received a request for a deeper understanding and analysis of this information, specifically concerning our elected officials and executive officers. Given that Uintah County serves the largest rural population in the state, the complexity of this situation requires a diverse approach. Our elected officers and executive officers oversee the work directly with elected officials, contributing to a diverse knowledge that helps our community receive the highest level of service. The elected officers have not been on an increased schedule for the past 10 years, which has led to an internal equity concerns. Our Clerk-Auditor, Mike Wilkins, an elected official with longstanding commitment to serving the community, will present a timeline of salary increases from January 2015 through January 2025. I have the research that has driven the HR office in its efforts to this matter. So that's my statement for Mike, and we'll get the information up. Oh. Do you want to?
Yeah, that one's working.
I'll go inside the mic.
This one is, I can't see the other one. Must be everybody's looking at it.
Can you see that?
Yep. Hopefully everybody can see that. I went back. I want to make a correction on this, what was presented in the work session 2 weeks ago on County Attorney Jamin Thomas. When he was appointed as the county attorney, he received a 21% increase just by going from a deputy to the county attorney. So the 50% included that the last time. I have made that correction. But with that being done there, okay. So January 4th of 2015, all elected officials and employees received a 4% salary adjustment. There was, from that time on, in February of 2019, the setting commission at that time proposed lowering the elected officials' wages. The law does not allow them to do that. November 22nd of 2021, all the employees, except for elected officials, received $1 an hour raise. April 17th of 2022, Sheriff Labrum received a 17% increase from 47.32 to 55.29. Then January 19th of 2022, that one, the elected officials were not included in that one. January 5th of 2025, Jamin Thomas received 17% increase. Sheriff Labrum received the 2.5% increase, along with the other elected officials at that time, except for the county commissioners. So with that, I know there's a lot of, I've got to respond. I want to thank, sorry to Jamin on that one, but also there's a lot of propaganda being spread in here today. I don't know where you come up with it, but it is false, and I can prove everything on that. So anyway, I'll let HR take it from there.
Two additional things. The document that was in the back, if whomever brought that, if you just please visit my office, I can give you the actual salaries that are true to those elected officials, and then also one person that's on this document that was not employed by the county in 2021. And so there's, just to show that there are some obvious discrepancies and problems with some of the paperwork and misinformation that's being placed out there. The next thing would just to show where the things, the salary requests were coming from as an overall average. Then this was the UAC spreadsheet that they pushed forward that provides us. What we looked at doing was the 2 counties above the Uintah County and the 2 counties below as far as in class count. And that's where the salary ranges were brought forward for consideration. And so they weren't just, it wasn't just our elected officials coming forward and say, hey, I think we deserve this or we need to have this. There's data to reflect the reasons why we're trying to push forward to allow our elected officials to have some sort of consistency and track as well with their salaries. I don't know.
Now,
if
are
you have
those
any
commissions
questions.
full-time, or are those all part-time that got compared with us?
Box Elder is full-time. I confirmed that. Wasatch is full-time. I'll have to check. Oh, well,
No,
the
they're a
council.
council, they're not
Yeah,
full-time.
Okay. Summit
Same
and
way.
San Pete, I'd have to look at those and verify, but with the salaries that are there, they would reflect probably full-time. The Wasatch would be lower, so I'm not sure. Mike, do you know if Wasatch is full-time or part-time? Council, yeah, part-time. That's what I was thinking. But even, so you can see that there, with the lower salaries that are there as well, everything's being looked at. It's not just trying to find communities where we can look at how can we raise these salaries and justify it. It's by taking the averages and coming up with salaries that way, which is how you benchmark things, right? And to be able to move forward. The idea that the elected officials haven't had anything specific and in place for them since 2015. That's 10 years, and imagine if you were in your place of business for 10 years with no real direction of knowing what's our process for it as well, and how are we valued as we're brought into these seats to serve our community.
Okay. There's also been a rumor that the county attorney and sheriff would not be included in this. That is a false. All elected officials are being considered. We haven't made a decision on anything yet. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Now is the time for public comment. If you would like to make a public comment, please come up to the podium, identify yourself. If you see her give you a weird look, that means she doesn't know how to spell your last name real quick. Please let her know.
Do I get to do a filibuster talk for 6 hours or so?
You got a lot of people out here. I think it'll slow that down.
I'm just joking with you. Scott Bingham. And it must be really tough to, when you want a raise, to come and ask for it. We appreciate the service that you want to offer. And that's my point. It seems like a lot of elected officials, whether they're senators or Congress or commissioners, they know what the job pays when they go in. And in our nation, we see senators and congressmen who are poor and no money, and when they leave office, they're multimillionaires. As far as the commissioners are concerned, you knew what the wage was when you hired on. And my feeling is if a commissioner, and I wish it was this way, it's my belief, it always has been and still always will be, that if someone's going to serve in the commission, they ought to do just that, serve, without drawing a wage. I would be willing to do that. I don't know how I'd find the time. I work 12 to 18 hours a day as it is. I guess I'd sell the farm, but I think it ought to be a public service and not a wage. And I'd like to leave my comment at that.
My name is Sean Fletcher. So I have a couple questions. One is to Mike Wilkins. There's this video going around. I want to know who he was addressing when he was addressing you commissioners about you guys being CEOs of an $80 million company. If you truly look at Uintah County as an $80 million company, why don't we have money to be competitive with pay for our sheriff deputies? Why did he refer in that, when he was discussing it, in their pay in the manner he did? We, the public, took it as an offense, like offensive. We believe the way he said it, he was degrading LEOs. Also, there was an article some time ago that KSL wrote about the findings of a, quote, Uintah County Clerk-Auditor engaged in conduct that meets the highest standard of crimes, misdemeanors, and malfeasance.
Let me cut you off right there on that. There was nothing founded on that. That was investigated by an outside agency. There was nothing there.
Okay. I was wondering why it was swept under the rug, but okay. Another one is, so that little presentation showed a little bit of light. So one of my questions was, you know, why do we have other larger companies or counties that are part-time and we have full-time commissioners? You know, if we can't afford to pay our officers, then isn't there other areas that we can cut to give them competitive wages so they're not leaving our community? I think we can agree on that. In closing, I do not believe you guys are CEOs. I believe you guys are elected public servants. We, the people, voted for you as we believed you guys were doing the best fit for the job at that time. With that in mind, I do believe that you have the Sheriff's Department best interests at mind and will do the right thing that we voted you to do.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I hate these kind of things. My name is Don Hall. I just want to get on the record as a matter of perspective. You folks were voted into office. The only one I voted for is not here today. But you're voted into office to represent the people here in this community. I've heard from some county officials, in the last election, one of the officials that was running for a seat, his number one question wasn't what does the community need, what are our problems and stuff. The number one question he got was from county employees wanting to know if he was gonna go for them a raise. That was his number one question that he was being asked. There's been people that have got jobs in the county that the people in those positions to hire them says, well, justifying their position, trying to hire them out two steps high in the pay grade. And one of the commissioners pointed out, well, we have this progression deal for a reason. You've got to work your way up. And he says it's really not a bad starting wage, and especially when you consider the benefits and stuff. And this official cut him off and says, well, you can't really count those benefits as wages because everybody gets those. Let me explain something to you. There's a lot of people in this room here right now that worked, myself included, worked my big share of my career out of state. I brought funds in from out of state because there was not enough work here in my profession to keep me busy. So I did what I could to keep my family here and keep them steady. And I went to work out of state. But I brought those tax monies in that pays your wages. Now, out of that tax money, nobody paid for my insurance. Nobody paid for my vacation. I paid for that. A lot of these people right here have their own businesses. They paid for that. They don't get those benefits like you got. They don't get paid vacations. They don't get paid insurance. They pay for that themselves out of their own pocket. They shouldn't have to get a second job to do that. We've done our fair share. So, what I'm saying is paying attention to the people that you're supposed to be representing. You do a comparison up here. Well, compared to this other county, we're in line. All these people you showed are in position to vote themselves a raise. Well, isn't that great? But nobody in the private sector, nobody votes them. Can you people on your board vote them a raise so they can afford to pay your taxes? No, you can't do it. But you very, very readily want to vote yourself a raise. Pretty convenient. Take a look back at the people that are furnishing, that are keeping this county going. A lot of them, like I said, people bringing in money from out of state, and show a little bit of appreciation for that wouldn't hurt. It wouldn't hurt a bit. But take a look at where you're getting your paycheck and consider these folks and where your money's coming from.
My name is Katie Gregory, and our family has been in Vernal for the past 4 years. In that time, I've become aware of the many allegations of the high levels of corruption in the Uintah County government. Allegations of misuse of COVID funds, allegations of embezzlement, and many other allegations of past and present questionable and unethical practices that have either been condoned by or overlooked by the county commissioners over the years. I wasn't here for this. I've just heard this by people who were here for this. My question for y'all is, what have any of those done who are in line to get these raises? What have they done to deserve that meritocratically? As taxpayers in Uintah County, we are entitled to this information. This is our money. We deserve to know who this money is going to and why. Residents of Uintah County are hurting financially. My husband's company implemented a mandatory 10% pay cut, not for the managers, not for the office staff, but for the blue-collar workers. It wasn't merit-based, but because they had to stay within budget. Why is it that the county can't make those hard decisions as well? Every department should be required to stay in the black instead of viewing taxpayers as an infinite ATM. Seems like we just did this whole thing. Y'all wanted to raise taxes? We said no. Y'all did it anyway. We gathered signatures and shut it down. We were told to get a second job if we couldn't afford to pay government employees more money. My question remains, what have any of them done to meritocratically deserve that raise? Explain it to me like I'm 5, please. Why are we reverting to the ancient Greek and Roman style government where patricians are exempted from societal rules? Okay, this whole rules for me, not for thee thing, white collar workers, government employees, stuff like that. Why are you and all other government employees exempted from the rules that the rest of us have to follow? Our country's broken. Conservatives are being attacked on many fronts. I'm sorry, we were at UVU on Wednesday and things are still kind of fresh, so I feel like this is one more attack coming from our government. Conservatives are sacrificing over and over and over. We're sacrificing our heroes, we're sacrificing our paychecks, we're sacrificing time with our family so we can earn more money to take care of them. We're sacrificing our kids' activities because finances are tight for a lot of people right now. What sacrifices is a county government willing to make? Because I don't see it, not even a little bit. There was a time that public service was a service. Now it's a retirement plan. That's not okay. Now I understand, like the rec center, county government has been mishandled, funds have been mishandled, whatever, it's just been misgoverned or whatever. People didn't get a raise for a long time. The rec center, fees didn't go up for a long time. That's in the past. Okay, we can't just say, we're going to give up to a 15% pay increase for people that may or may not deserve it. okay? Moving forward, like that's what I want to do. I want to find a plan that will work for everybody moving forward. Why don't y'all come up with a plan that will incrementally increase those salaries rather than just saying, this guy that got a 17% increase, we're going to give him another, whatever, 15% increase. Because that's not sustainable. We can't keep doing this. Let's figure out a plan that will help people feel respected and not used. Let's figure out a plan that will work for the county employees. Let's figure out a plan that we can agree on. There's so much division right now. We don't need this in our county. Please, I'm asking you, I'm begging you to come up with a plan that will work for our county. We moved here because it was special. And right now, I'm not seeing that. Right now, I'm seeing that y'all are following Salt Lake County, Utah County, Washington County, Davis County, all these counties that are quote-unquote progressive, and I don't like it. We moved here so our family would feel safe. We've moved here so our family would feel respected. And I'm asking you, and I know Willis isn't here, but I'm asking Sonia and John, please help us come up with a plan that will help us feel like we're respected, because we don't. Thank you.
Randy Vincent, V-I-N-C-E-N-T. I know I'm not supposed to repeat what you have already heard, but Mr. Bingham, he made a point that elected officials are elected and they know what the salary is going in. If they're not happy with that, apparently there's lots of other occupations in this county or out in the state where they pay a lot more money. They always have that opportunity to move on. I was once told when you get a good person, you just can't afford to let them go. You've got to pay and pay them because they can't be replaced. But that's totally wrong. Everybody can be replaced, and we see that in elections. You can get replaced if they don't think you're doing the proper job. If you're not happy with your salary, there's not a problem with that. You can either not run again because you know what you're going to make, or you can resign today. That's a very simple process. Now, I've lived here, been a resident for 64 years, born in Wyoming. Self-employed, have been for 60 years. A lot of people in this room, like Dawn said, are self-employed, and we have to deal with the funds that are available. The oil field, I have an oil field business. We can't go to the oil field and say, we want $1,000 for this load. You know what they say? The rate's $500. Take it or leave it. And the majority of employees in this community are based on those kind of principles. Uintah County, on your chart, showed where you're at in the middle, a lot higher and a lot lower, which that's good. But I haven't really seen the statistics, and you probably have them, of the average income of our county people. Not the county employees or elected officials. Look at the average income of the county people. People are going through tough times right now. Prices are high in the store. Cattle's at an all-time high, which that's good because I sell cattle. But that's an up and a down. So we live on that when it's up, but it'll be up for 2 years. But fertilizer, equipment, pickups, everything have escalated. They will never come down, but the price of cattle will come down. So we have to work within that budget. We're not able to set and say, well, we need to raise 10% or 15 or 45% pay wage. The money is not there. And I think the county is in the same boat. We should have so much money in our budget to function. And I think that it needs to be a better job of managing that money. And there's lots of projects in this county that should be taken top priority for the success of our county. One of them is the water systems, the drinking water. That's a necessity that everybody has to live, water. We gotta have it. Those kind of price increases, people are gonna have to be able to figure out, because there's gonna be more expense to it, no ifs or ands about it. But you gotta have those things. But other things we don't. Thank you.
Russell Tomlinson from Jensen. So to go back to Mike Wilkins' comment that he made about police officers making more money, where's the HR director? She's still here. I assume because of labor laws you have to pay police officers by the hour, correct? And they are paid overtime, just like we would in the oil field or anything else, outside of an ag exemption. That's why they're paid more. They work more, okay, than the elected officials. I'm not saying elected officials do not work. What I'm saying is they put in more hours. So that's part of the reason their gross income is probably more. So I did a quick Google search after Randy said $69,000 is the average income for Uintah County. Okay. I also have from the transparent.utah.gov or whatever it is, the elected officials raise and all that. It's substantially more than that. I'm not gonna lie, most of you guys are at 97,000 for your salaries. And also you have your benefits on top of that. I'm not to repeat what Randy said. If you guys don't like it, that's fine. You can either run or you can go find another job. But it's just frustrating. Every time we turn around, somebody wants another raise or property taxes go up. It's not that you're gonna break us, it's that every time we turn around, somebody else wants something. We don't need this. We need to be able to focus and figure out a plan, what this young lady said prior to Randy. Figure out a plan, not just tomorrow's plan, but a 5 or 6 or 10-year plan. Try to figure something out. I'm not saying people don't need raises, but I think some of these are quite extensive. There's a couple of county employees on here I about tipped over when I saw how much they made. And that's through the state of Utah. That's what's being reported through the state of Utah. Am I correct, Mike? Transparentutah.gov, correct? So there's a lot on there that are higher than yours, higher than the elected officials. There's a couple on there. And I about tipped over. I cannot believe some of these people are making that kind of money. That's way more than I make in 2 or 3 years. And I work anywhere between 40 hours and 100 hours, depending on what my job entails that week. I'm just the manager. So I don't see how this is acceptable. I am very much against it. Please figure out a plan, a 5 or a 10-year plan. But this is not cool. I'm not happy with it at all. Thank you.
My name is Bud Barnes. 2 things. When you talk about a 4% raise given to all the employees, so let's say the average county employee makes $50,000 a year. My math isn't great, but I think 4% would be $2,000 a year. But if you're making $100,000 a year, that 4% raise is $4,000. So progressively, your employees make a little bit money, but you're going to make more whenever it happens. I would like to see whatever employees you have be given a fair wage. I've lived here since 1968, and I've always heard the county's a great place to work for them, but you can't keep people because the wages are paid more everywhere else. And that's why I worked in the oil field. That's my first point. My second point is I'm 72 years old now. Every year, my house becomes worth more money. It's real interesting, isn't it? Live in the same place now for 20 years, and the value of that house has gone up $150,000. So my property tax go up incrementally every year. Now, I don't know how that money's split up. I do see how it's listed on my property tax deal. Uintah School District gets a lot of money every year. County gets money. Every year, we get more people in here buying more houses, spending more money, and it costs us all more money. And I don't know how to explain that or to say other than just I'm here just to complain about it. I would like to see two things. I would like to see the property tax looked at and made it more fair. And secondly, I'd like to see county employees get more of the raise money that you're talking about.
My name is Russ Justice. I have a business in the county. I'll assure you, most of my guys work twice as hard and make less money than most of the people in this county. Have you guys taken a look at what's going on in the federal government today? It's bloated and it's being cut in half. I don't think we should be here talking about pay raises today. I think we should be here talking about how we're going to cut county government. You guys have a lot of divisions in the government that you could cut a whole lot out of. And it's just like the excavating and grading and the road department and all that stuff. That stuff should go out to bid. Why are we here in this county competing against our own tax dollars to do the work in the county? It's ridiculous. Pay raises aren't what we should be talking about today. Cutting this government's what we should be talking about.
John Brook. You spell Brook B-R-U-C-H. That's the proper way. Yeah, the census does show the Uintah County household income at $69,861. So you're right on the money there. I'm not totally opposed to the raise, but I do have a couple of questions, and that is 2.5%. What does that equal in actual dollars? So, because we got to have a number. 2.5% sounds like nothing. 2.5%, geez, that's no big deal. But what's the actual dollar amount of that? Times how many employees for how long is what I'm getting at. No, for elected officials, that's what this one's about, right? So like I said, I'm not totally against it. I just want to know first off, the actual dollar amount. Secondly, where's that coming from? I looked very briefly, to be honest with you. I didn't dig deep into it, but I looked at the 2025 budget. And the last couple of pages, there's 6 items on there that were requested and approved, 6 different departments, and the item line was unknown, but it was approved for $124,700. So I'd like to submit my own unknown request and get approved for that. But that's it. Just if you would address what the actual dollar amount is and where it's coming from, then we can know for sure how we're paying for this beautiful thing. Thank you.
My name is Tim Crow, and what I'm here is for the citizens of Uintah County mainly. They need to understand that the county has a voting block in there. County employees of 250 employees. Our average vote is 4,000 people in the county vote to put these people in. Okay? You start off with the employee at 250. You get their wife or their partner in there, there's 500. You get their 18-year-olds, which we have usually 4 people in the family. So now you add another 500. We're already 1/3 of the county vote. So if you have a problem, which I do with these two because they went right to the county employees said, we'll give you our vote if you give us a raise. That's what happened. So that's where you sit. You need to tell everybody, you need to vote. They're running here in a little bit. We need to change that real quick. Thank you.
Dan Dillsaver. So what Bud was talking about is unrecognized gains, tax on unrecognized gains. That's where your house goes up and you get taxed more, but you didn't really sell it, so you didn't get anything out of it. So anyway, when they put the presentation up there and it showed the 3 counties, us being in the middle, that was a gross misrepresentation of facts, because that is a council, not a commission. Okay, so what Tim, who I've never met, hi Tim, what he talked about is absolutely true. What I believe we have here is, this may not be the best form of county government for us. It may be the best, but Joe and I and another group, we've been working, and I spoke with Sonia on this, and I spoke with John on this, a different form of county government. We have 5 options. If we don't like this one, I've asked them, and Sonia told me before that she would look into this, and John told me the same thing. You notice it didn't go anywhere? So again, I don't know if a council form is better. There are 2 different council forms. You have 5 part-time commissioners, you can have 7 part-time commissioners. There are other forms. I do not know what is the best, but I think it's something that we as citizens should seriously look into, and perhaps our next election cycle, we can vote for change, or we can make the decision, this is the best for us. But we need to become informed and make that decision, because this may or may not be the best form. Thank you for the opportunity.
Hi, my name's Danette Seacrest, live in Ballard. First thing I'd like to ask is, how many of you had a hardship making it to a 3 o'clock meeting today? This needs to change. How many parents are waiting in a school line at 3 o'clock to pick up thousands of kids in this county? And how many people work till at least 5 o'clock? Exactly. This time should never be allowed for a public hearing. Exactly. It needs to be changed. Second, how do you go about implementing Doge into this county? Because it needs it. We need a Doge department, even if it's a volunteer, or you bring in other accountants that go through every single wage to see what goes on here. And third, last, this is quick, I'm sure you're all aware of the names Ron DeSantis, Greg Abbott. They're working to lower taxes. They are trying to eliminate property taxes. This is what your job is. Your job isn't here to pad your pockets. It's here to make this county better to live in and make it affordable for everybody to be here and want to be here. That's it.
Anyone else?
Got to. Wasn't going to, but going to. Jeff Merrill, former county employee, former elected official. Some of the things that I've heard here today are other things other than what we're here to talk about, my opinion. One is the fair and equitable of everybody. So if the county commission or the elected officials have not been given that raise that the rest of the county employees received, is that not unfair and unequitable? The 2% are, and I haven't got the numbers. Give you one example. When I was a county employee, we had a sheriff that come in and hired all of his buddies. I was here 14 years, 10-year employee, detective sergeant. The sheriff brought in his buddies at 45 cents an hour more than I was making. There was no pay scale. There was no opportunity to say, I'll just hire whatever I think I want you to have. And I actually have the letter, I just run across it last week, cleaning out some files. The sheriff writing a letter to then Gary Gollins, the HR director, said, Jeff Merrill has a legal claim and possible lawsuit related to Uintah County for unfair discrimination when it comes to wages. I think we need to give him a siphon to soothe him so he's not going to sue the county. I don't know whether the other elected officials have a lawsuit or not. I'm not getting into the legal aspects. What I would like to say is, 10 years ago, and I'm going to even go back further than that, because when I was sheriff in 2007, with law enforcement, just law enforcement, we did the wage study, and we put everybody starting at this salary or this wage, and on a 20-year or 30-year career, this is where you would be. You would retire, somebody else would come in at the base level and move up, and that way it transitions. I don't think that that was ever continued after I left office. I'll just put it that way. Back to the subject at hand today. If the elected officials have been denied those wages in 10 years for whatever reason, there needs to be an adjustment there with either this pay scale or this percentage. Some talked about if you make more money, you get more of a raise. And where are we at? And what is a living wage? I'm not going to debate that. What is living wage for? If we were Arden Stewart, a lot of you remember him, are we going to keep the sheriff's wages at Arden Stewart, which was about $12,000 in 1980 when I hired on, or are we going to increase with inflation? Is that right or wrong, or where it's at? I don't have those deals, but I do say, and I'm not saying a 16% or a 2% or whatever, we need to have something in place to where it is fair and equitable to all the county employees and all the elected officials. And I come from being a county employee and being an elected official. This is the fiduciary. They have to make the decision. What is a living wage? What is not? Some of it comes down to choices. Some of it comes down not to choices. But the subject today is not if we need to grade roads or cut services. Those are important. I'm not saying it isn't. I've heard we need to take care of the water. We need to take care of the rec center. I don't use the rec center. Let's get rid of it. Other people say, all my kids use the rec center. I need water, I need sewer, I need roads, I need. The amount of information coming in, and there's only so many dollars, but the issue today, this hearing, is it fair and equitable to the elected officials versus the employees? If they've not had a raise in 10 years or a 2%, 2.5% raise, maybe that needs to be adjusted. Maybe not what it is today, but what would be the 2.5% that they were given, what year, Mike?
Last year, we finally received 2.5 last year, January 5th, 2025.
Before that?
Before that,
9 years.
no, 2015.
2015.
So do we need to just figure out what that 2019 is and where it is fair and equitable? Those are number figures, but I've seen it from both sides. I've balanced those budgets with the sheriff's office and some of those, and I disagree with some of the previous commissioners, and I'm going to say I was the leading force in causing some of the financial issues in Uintah County by building the public safety complex. But that was a needed lawsuit. It was not if, but it was when, if we continued with what we had. Other elected officials decide to take the money we had in, pay it off, whatever that happened. That's another issue. But the issue today is fair and equitable to all employees, including the elected officials. Thank you very much for your time.
I got one question. Do you think that if you want to give them a raise or see what it looks like, cap a ceiling, like you said, a pay scale for the median?
Say that again?
If you have like a pay scale median, right? So if you are in favor of giving a raise, look at the median, what it is. What is their responsibilities? What do they do? How many hours a day do they put in for work? How many hours a week? So would that be something that we could get? Just find out what they do on a day-to-day basis, not what their title is, but what they do?
Not maybe. I do know. You get back the microphone.
Sheriff Merrill, will you please repeat that?
I'm going to tell you
Sheriff Merrill, Jeff Merrill, will you please repeat that? We couldn't pick that up on the.
Thank you.
Thank you.
His question was, can we get the duties of the elected officials and how many hours they put in, and not necessarily job title, but job description and responsibilities, those types of things. I think that may be a good idea, but I'm also going to tell you, as sheriff, there was a lot of responsibilities. I was on salary, but I worked 24 hours a day, or I was on call 24/7. I had a staffing plan of 83 employees. We had 8 homicides, or 9 homicides while I was sheriff. We had the Neola North fire that I didn't sleep for like 2 days, grabbed some sleep, was gone again. I do know county commissioners. I had a lot of, I'll go back to me. I had a lot of meetings out of town. I would leave at 5 o'clock in the morning, drive to Salt Lake for a mandatory meeting, drive back home. I wouldn't get home till 9, 10 o'clock at night after leaving Salt Lake. So, do we do like the Attorney General and open up their schedule to the public? That's a.
Well, I'm not saying their schedule. I'm not asking their schedule.
We can't pick this up on the record. If you want to say something, please come forward.
There's another mic over here.
I'm just going to say, I do know that they put in a lot of hours that we don't know about. After-hour meetings, et cetera, but I also know that they do have time off.
Time off would be nice for everybody, you know what I mean? I'm on salary too in the oil field. Sean Fletcher, sorry. I'm on salary as well, so just like you know, you put in a lot of hours, Neola fire, homicides. I understand that, you know what I mean? But all I'm asking is, I think it would be a fair assessment, you know, if they're asking for a raise, you know, when I've never asked for a raise just because I always felt like my performance speaks for itself. But if they want to ask for a raise, what do they do? I'm not saying like, you know, from 8 a.m. I went and got coffee, showed up at the, you know what I'm saying? But what do they do? What, like a brief, you know, rundown. How many hours a week do they put in? How many hours a month do they put in? And then, yes. So,
throughout the year.
yeah, things like that, you know what I mean? Just so we can see, because, you know, as manager, I couldn't go to my boss and be like, hey, I want a raise. And he'd be like, okay, what do you have to back it up? You know, I have friends in law enforcement that have to work 3 shifts or pick up extra shifts to make ends meet, you know? And you don't see them saying, hey, I want this, you know? And I understand your point, and I respect your point, you know, as commissioner once, or sheriff, you know, I knew you were as a sheriff, but it's still, we need to know as a public what they do that entitles them to this substantial amount of raise. Because every year in 25 years in the oil field, I've been very fortunate, never been laid off, never been fired, but I don't get like maybe a 3.2% raise, and that's if I'm lucky. It's not guaranteed, you know, but I did take my job knowing what I was gonna make. I think that most people do that. And if you aren't happy, it's been said several times, I understand that. I would be open to one, possibly, if we get to see what they do, what they're responsible of, how many hours they're putting in, and then I want to go back and I want to say, okay, let's say they want $120,000 a year. Okay, that's take home, or let's just say gross. 120 divide how many hours, you know what I mean? That is going to give me a dollar amount of what they're going to make, and then say, okay, well they do this, this, and this.
What have you improved above and beyond what you did the year before to?
Yeah, and what your goals are, you know what I mean? Because we all have to have goals wherever we work.
Absolutely.
So, I mean,
And
I was just piggybacking on what you said.
I'm not against that.
Yeah.
And do we look at, this would be an HR thing, what is the nationwide?
Right.
The index for,
so
do we do that? Do we do it just for our area?
Yes.
Do we do?
So that's
what
when I
is it?
give my employees
I
raise,
don't-
that's what I do. Is I go out like everybody else, oil field companies, see what they're paying their employees, and then I look at their performance, what they bring, how they are, do they damage equipment, are they on time, how their attitudes are first and foremost, are they grumpy, are they happy, whatever. And then I base what I start them at and my raise levels on their performance. So.
And I agree in a lot of aspects with that. And this comes down to, again, I've seen it from both sides. I've seen it from both sides. What I'm saying is, we just need to be fair and equitable with all employees. And that's the way it is. And now it's up to you. Thank you for your time.
Anyone else? Oh, we got one more. He's coming back.
You know, I think what they're getting at is the truth is the median household income in Uintah County is $69,000 and some change. And most of that's with two people working in the household. So if you guys want to raise, why do you, I mean, you guys are making, most of the counties making well above median household income already with one person working. So it's kind of hard to justify to the people in this county how you guys need a bigger raise, because let me tell you what, your raise translates into more taxes for us. And that's the next thing you'll be asking again, oh, can we get a 70% tax increase? Like I said, it's time to start cutting government, not growing it, not paying more money. At some point, we got to step back and take a look, man. How much can we afford? Because we're tapped out. You know, my taxes on my house was $4,700 this year. That's insane. And it just keeps going up so that we can give raises in the county. That's all I got to say.
Anyone else?
My name's Aaron Lamoureux, and I don't want to pretend to do your guys' job and whatnots, but I'd want to make sure priorities, guys. We have school kids. Are they safe at school? Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. I hear the sheriff's department has 0 training budget. They weren't able to go to the training at the old hotel a couple weeks ago because they have 0 training budget. And now, I don't know how the money gets allocated. Is that not true? Untrue?
That's not correct, no.
Untrue. Okay, untrue.
They were rather
But
healthy.
I just want to talk about priorities. Your guys' raise, like everybody says. Are the police getting trained right? Are our schools safe? Could we give you guys raises or get a cop in front of every school every day? Something different. Something that the community sees that we're gaining. You guys are doing your job. We just want to see growth and the money spent in a good way. That's all. So,
We do have police in every school. I believe so, yeah. In the county. I don't know about the city. Yeah, yeah. The sheriff's out there. I think you could ask him for sure. He's in charge of that mess. Anyone else?
The first thing I want to talk about is transparent Utah. You cannot look at those numbers as actual salaries, because one of the things that happens is when somebody gets a payout, like they move in another position, all their salary hours will show up in there. So it's not truly reflective of actual salaries. That's the thing. There's a lot of information out there. Yes, some of it's true, some of it's not. So there's information out there. Some years they include benefits, some years they don't. Transparent Utah is transparent only to a degree. The second thing I want to mention is the individuals that are putting this